Welcome to this episode of Crypto Calling. Today's guest is Loic Tilman. I talked to him about how the blockchain brings transparency into the market for green energy certificates. Welcome to this week's episode of Crypto Calling. Today's guest is Loic Tilman. He is the co-founder of NRverse, and I'm thrilled to have him here with me.
Hello, Felix. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Very good, very good. It's Monday, so busy, but very good.
All right. Yeah, I mean, NFTs keeps you busy, I guess, right? Can you tell us a little bit about what you do very, very briefly, and then how did you get into this?
Yes, for sure. Well, I'm what we call an energy geek, so I'm passionate about energy transition, and how we could make basically our activities more sustainable thanks to renewable energy. And linked to that, some concerns are rising around Web3 consumption. We all know about Bitcoin consumption, but it's also about the newly metaverse. And it's not only about the crypto or the blockchain-based energy consumption, but also about any other energy consumption from computing power, AI, VR. And based on my background in energy, I was willing actually to look at new solution in order to decarbonize these decentralized activities, which is quite complex. But there are some market tool that we can use. So that's why we launched NFTs basically to decarbonize Web3 and also Web2 decentralized activities.
So you are part of the Superstars program. There are now two questions in general. The obvious one would be, how did you get into the Superstars program? How did you get wind of that? But also, how did you get into the blockchain community / technology? What was the journey like?
Well, I would start with the latter question, if I may. I've always been curious about new technologies. So I started looking at blockchain and crypto in 2015. And well, I got the chance to run some proof of concept around blockchain quite early in 2017 about settlement of micro energy transaction, and looking at the potential of such decentralized technologies, but also the philosophy behind that was quite triggering me these last years. So I've been working in other use cases like decentralized identifier, any other use cases that could actually bring some support to the decentralization, not only of the digital infrastructure, but also about the energy sector, because both are actually running into the same parallel trends, which is decentralization. So it's quite a natural enabler also for the energy transition. So that's how I end up in the blockchain, but also in this NFTs ID. Now going back to BFG, well, it was a bit by hazard, I would say, also by chance, I should say, because my co-founder Kai found on LinkedIn this opportunity of the BFG Superstar Program, while we were at the same time ideating about potential leveraging of some energy market structure or energy market tools. I can go into more detail if you want, but we might not have the time, and use that on the leveraging also the blockchain infrastructure to bring actually decarbonization of the metaverse. And that's how we end up, like, it was just a perfect timing for us now to get into more concrete entrepreneurial activities while bringing our idea into life.
Mm-hmm. I think we're going to take the time. What are the chances in the energy market on the use cases for blockchain there?
Well, there are plenty of opportunity. As I said, the energy system is now going into tremendous changes, many different tremendous changes. One is called decentralization due to electrification. So in the past, we managed the energy sector with few big power plant, nuclear, coal, gas. Now, actually, with the uptake of renewables, it's not going to be top down anymore, but more bottom up. So you will have many of decentralized assets like windmill, solar, that will be used for generating the power, but also you will need then more and more electrified application like the electrical vehicle, the heat pump, to compensate actually the fluctuation of renewables, because we do not have the big plant to do this. And in that regard, there is huge complexity in managing that. Now, if you look on the other side at the infrastructure, the blockchain infrastructure, but also the edge computing, it's also kind of a decentralization trend, which will make also the link with renewables much more complex. And so the idea is actually to use in NFTs what we call the guarantee of origin. So that guaranteeing that green energy is produced, and to match that actually with the decentralized activity around metaverse, Web3, or any generic blockchain activities. And by doing that, with NFTs, we're actually using the power of NFT that will actually fractionalize this guarantee of origin, so making the small pieces all over the world and match it actually with the reality of the blockchain infrastructure or the edge computing infrastructure. Can you follow?
Yes, I can.
Perfect.
For our listeners, who is the target group who benefits most from the product NFTs?
That's a very good question. It's quite broad, right? It can range from the big corporate or the big incumbent in the metaverse and blockchain sphere, like you would call Decentraland, Sandbox, or big crypto exchange that could also decarbonize the exchange on the platform. What we see more and more is like big brands, normal brands are now entering the metaverse. And a lot is happening around the fashion, for example, which is a sector that is quite eco-conscious. So by leveraging NFTs, and so the link to the renewable, they can also decarbonize actually the metaverse fashion. So that will be a target client in the future, a first target client. Then of course we have also the digital native in that domain. So if you look at the big brands like Nike, like we got Tommy Hilfiger that's also in the metaverse. Well, plenty. Every week you have new brands, and not only on the fashion area that are entering the metaverse, but they are quite well. They have a long acquisition process. So that's why we are now focusing more on the native fashion brand like Dress6, like all these new companies that are really focusing on developing the metaverse fashion, and that is already well understanding actually the challenges of metaverse. And then ultimately there is any user of the metaverse like you and me, but this is of course more granular and so not the first target. So long story short, we first focus on the digital native, so the big brands, but also the more niche market like the metaverse fashion.
All right. I want to shift gears a little bit. When we talk about the team of NFTs, we have Kay and you. So what do you do? How did you kind of divide the tasks? How did that work? How does the team form, and what do you do?
That's a great one, and that's a learning process as we speak. We have complementary personality, I would say. Now, in terms of task, actually, it's I'm more like looking at the business development and the product long-term definition, while Kyle is focusing on the technology, notably, but also the link with the guarantee of origin market. Now, on the technology, we have the chance also to have support now of our partner, Blocksmove, which is now currently developing our first API that will be issued in the coming days.
While being part of the Superstars program, what was your learning? Was there anything that surprised you about the process, or was there anything that you found that stood out in terms of what you did?
Well, it's twofold. The first, what strikes me the most was the structure, and the second one was actually the huge support in many dimensions that I wouldn't even suspect. That's why it's also exciting to be part of this program. So on the first part, I'm quite glad that Max and John Chang actually really structuring the process. So we have weekly call about the advancement, some challenging, some also ranking of the different team, making also the journey more interesting, so to say. What I also need to say is that the community and the cohort was also quite helpful. So also the peer-to-peer learning was a very nice experience in this Superstar program. And on the other side, what strikes me the most is the multiple dimensions that are tackled. So we range from valuation of your company towards the marketing, towards now more the hiring processes, the different possibilities of hiring processes, the different advisor call that we got as well, how to pitch better your product, how to manage all the administrative tasks, which you might not necessarily think about when you come with a fresh idea.
Definitely. I mean, what BFG does, it just shows you how much more there is to running a business than just having the idea. Because the idea is important, but the execution is more, if equally, if not more important than that.
Ideas cheap.
Ideas are cheap, but I'm glad that you have such a great idea. Where can people find you? Where can people follow your work?
Well, they can go on Twitter, LinkedIn, Medium. We'll also launch a Discord community. So happy to get a chat, a call of. And if you want to know more about the idea, if you have investors, we will look also for seed round after the pre-seed in the coming weeks. So you can just find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, or Telegram, and soon on Discord.
All right. I think that sums up pretty nicely. I think we're obviously gonna put all the links into the description below, so everybody can find you properly. That we're pretty much at the end of the interview. I think that was short and sweet. I thank you so much for participating, taking your time. I know you guys are very busy.
Thanks a lot, Felix. It was a pleasure.
And obviously, thanks to our listeners for giving us their time. And next week, we'll be back with another very interesting speaker. And until then, have a great time.
Have a great time. Bye-bye.